So today I am thrilled to host Pascale Sablan. I have to share with you that she is done so much work, positive, activist-driven, point of view, impacting social change, and I'm very excited to discuss the various things that she has been busy with, and she's been instrumental in working on some really notable projects, especially connected to social activism. So Pascale, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for everyone who's tuning in to hear a little bit more about my journey and my work. I'm excited to engage with you all. I always knew I wanted to be an architect or designer. It was what I answered when people would ask me growing up. During my first week or second week of School of Architecture at Pratt, a professor asked me and another classmate to stand. And he said, okay, these two will never become architects because they're Black and because they're women. I'm from Queens, Cambria Heights, which is a predominantly Caribbean community where I would say my classmates were 99.9%, African-American. Then I went to Mary Louis Academy in New York, which is an all-girls preparatory Catholic high school. So to have these two identities or two parts of me that was topics of why I was great and why I was amazing and why I was a powerhouse being used as a tool of kind of limiting my potential was interesting to me. And as I do these lectures and I share this story about what happened to me, I typically ask the audience to stand if they've ever been told they couldn't because of their gender and race. And part of that oppressive force that's keeping us limited in the profession is part of it is telling us blatantly that we can't. To Abhay's point, I started curating an exhibition called Say It Loud, where the concept is to see our faces, hear our voices, and feel our impact, which is our work, which is what we really want you to see and be excited about us and judge us through that lens. Right? For those who don't know what ABG is, downtown Manhattan, while they're excavating to build yet another federal building, they started to come upon the remains of African slaves. My understanding is that those remains were starting to get thrown out until somebody whistle blew and was able to halt what was happening and get Howard University to come down and investigate the site and really find the remains and start to just give the respect to those who were there and learn from them. So this monument became a marker, an architectural feature, an architectural advocate moment that speaks to the history of the site with the ancestral chamber and the door of return. Every building you see around you is built on the African burial ground, right? That it's not that our remains was nicely put in this rectangle box, right? Every building, that red brick building, that limestone building. So in downtown Manhattan, your city halls, your Supreme Courts, your roadways, all that was literally, figuratively, conceptually on the backs and bodies of our ancestors. My first introduction to architecture was a piece of architecture whose role and responsibility was to educate, to claim justice for those who had been forgotten, as well as for those who still are living, right? And so this was a really important trajectory for my career. When I think about architecture, people assume architecture, great design is great for everyone, when in actuality, architecture can be very oppressive and be racist in its design, and is designed in that capacity in many ways, right? And so one of those examples is Robert Moses. He, when developing Jones Beach, he understood that people of color use buses as their main mode of transportation. So to make sure that buses weren't able to get to Jones Beach, he mandated that the 20 overpasses over the Southern State Parkway was at most 9 feet. Right? So this is him literally using architecture and the built environment to oppress. ABG was powerful because this was my first introduction to how to say, this is how you turn that on its head. And in my architectural career, there's a few projects that I wanted to quickly highlight. One is Bronx Point, which is in the Bronx. It's a 542 affordable housing unit with the first ever brick and mortar hip hop museum. This project really has been about massing the articulations and carvings and orientation, but also high quality design. even though it is 100% affordable, I want you, when you look at that project, to not think, oh, that's just another project. I want everyone to feel pride in seeing what their home can be, irregardless of the socioeconomical kind of standing in the world. One idea was, in terms of the zoning envelope, we were actually able to build much more, but we didn't want to create a solid wall to the community. So first thing was actually carving in and breaking down the massing into 2 separate buildings. Then you have Mill Pond Park. We also have, this is that waterfront kind of esplanade that I spoke to, where again, it's not just for those who live in this building. If you live on 150th, you can come to. If you live on 149th, you can come through. Like, it's really about being a porous site plan that allows everybody to get to that waterfront access. It's not for the elite, it's for everyone, right? In my role as NOMA president, what I would like to do between now and then is to humble myself to listen, right? To hear from the members what it is that they need, what are the support and the mechanisms that is required for them to do the great work. I can foresee that I'll be pulling in some of that historian lens in terms of documentation and elevation. Curations of exhibitions. I'll definitely be making sure that we are capturing the great work that our members are doing and making sure that it's elevated on a national platform. I will definitely be using all these hats to also make really large, important organizations also put money where their mouth is, time where it's at, and all that into, again, helping our community and our membership explore and find more justice in both the profession and the built environment. And thirdly, a lot more community engagement. Architecture is so inward looking, but right now it's really about society and our role in supporting society and how we are a resource to them, and how we can engage and kind of refine that process. And then hopefully plan programs and initiatives that reflect their needs and not just what I think is needed.